In a recent interview with Mojo magazine, Jon Anderson expressed his openness to the idea of reuniting with his former Yes bandmates, Steve Howe and Rick Wakmen, despite it having been 2 decades since Anderson last played a full gig with Howe. During Yes's 35th anniversary tour in 2004, the singer revealed that the door is still open for a potential collaboration. Anderson, who last performed with Wakmen in 2017, shared his hopes of playing together again. While discussing plans with his current backing band, the band Geeks, he mentioned the possibility of Howe and Wakmen joining them on stage in London for a couple of songs. Anderson emphasized the importance of communication, stating, "It just means talking. When I'm out there singing on my own, I still think I'm part of Yes. They still feel like my songs." The last time Anderson, Wakmen, and Howe shared the stage was in 2017 when Yes was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Reflecting on his current relationship with his former bandmates, Anderson described them as still friends but not connected. He pinpointed a moment when he realized Yes would move forward without him, recalling an attempt to collaborate via email that went unanswered. Interestingly, Steve Howe had a different perspective last summer when he spoke to Classic Rock. He expressed resistance to reuniting with Anderson, citing memories of the challenging Union tour in 1991, which featured multiple past and present Yes members. Howe stated that he couldn't see a reunion happening, emphasizing his commitment to his current musical endeavors. Despite his appreciation for Jon Anderson, Howe asserted, "The only terms I work on is that I'm happy working on this. I'm not going to take a sudden load on my back that I either don't need or want. My music's always guided me, and it's not telling me to do those things." Seems there has been constant drama in the world of Yes and their members. We thought we would take a look back through our archive today and head back to 1982, when Anderson had left Yes to be replaced by Trevor Horn and Jeff Downes from the Buggles. This is when Anderson was working with keyboardist Vangellis and preparing to release his solo album Animation. Here we get a glimpse into the situation after the first of many Jon Anderson departures from Yes. In order to keep contrast in the interview portions of this article, we do use voice-alikes created with the help of AI tools. Artists are always faithfully represented by the original published text. Without further ado, let's shoot back to 1982 and talk to Jon Anderson. These days, Jon Anderson, the former lead vocalist of Yes, finds songwriting easy and relaxing. With the once mighty Yes, the lanky dark-haired Britisher wrote surreal, sci-fi lyrics celebrating starship troopers, topographic oceans, and the state of being close to the edge. But recently, with the Greek keyboardist Vangellis, Anderson postponed his cosmic explorations in favor of a back-alley rendezvous with the friends of Mr. Cairo. This earthy 6-song album heralds landings as emphatically as Yes relish blastoffs. The gangsters depicted in the title track land in the gutter and find themselves close to the edge and even closer to the casket. This playful takeoff on the Maltese Falcon traces the fantasy and relives the fun of Hollywood's underworld classics of the 40s, a subject some will be surprised to learn that is dear to Anderson's heart. Anderson's writing with Yes involved long group discussions and carefully considered song structures, but his writing with the avant-garde Vangellis is a more spontaneous situation, says the vocalist, sitting on the couch of his suite at the Palace Hotel in New York City. When Anderson recorded his first album with Vangellis, Short Stories, in 1980, the vocalist was still committed to Yes. That album spawned a hit single, I Hear You Know, and shortly thereafter, Anderson left the group. Vangellis had, in fact, declined an offer to replace the departing Rick Wakmen, but Anderson denies that his work with Vangellis hastened his departure.
There was a lot of pressure on the band. Yes was never a singles band, so our records were not selling in the quantities of, say, Journey and Foreigner. There were people in Yes who didn't care too much about the rat race of the top 10. We just enjoyed making music. There was no fighting, but there was a lot of frustration. The idea was for the band to have a break and relax from the pressure that can build up over 10 to 12 years. There was definitely a need for it. When the vocalist says break, being English, we didn't kick each other around. We were pretty gentlemanly about it.
One senses that the group may reform at some point. That was the idea, Anderson says.
I said, let's have a break for a year and then we'll come back and carry on. Me and Rick thought that was a great idea. But the other three said, no, we want to go on the road. We're going to move on with or without you. We said, well, that's not the way it should go, but if that's the game...
Does he miss the glamour and big crowds?
It's funny, I don't miss it, but I'm coming back on tour next year.
After his solo album Animation, which he promises to be very avant-garde and electronic, is released in January, he will form a group to play 3,000 to 4,000 seat halls in the United States.
Since I've been in America, I've become very positive.
But he contrasts that feeling with England, where he has granted only one interview in the last 2 years, because
all they want to do is make you a scapegoat.
For inspiration, Anderson turns to his wife, Jenny, whom he also relies upon for strength when there's no one else around.
With Jenny, it's like an old Paul Simon song. So she's my best friend, and I can always count on her for good criticism. She's no fool.
Returning to the subject of his upcoming tour, Anderson admits,
I don't expect to sell out Madison Square Garden. I've already done that. In 3 or 4 years, I'd love to try it again, but on a different musical high.
Anderson did eventually join the new reincarnation of Yes, just a year later, with guitarist Trevor Rabin at the helm, including the hit song Owner of a Lonely Heart. That album and tour went on to be a pretty big success, and that led to Anderson remaining with Yes for the next 5 years, only to leave and come back again numerous times through the years. Anderson's voice is still very much in good shape, and if there is to be any reunion of these Yes members, we will certainly welcome it. Stay tuned for further updates, and thanks for watching Rock Buzz.